this project of Mulan is to have Western presentation of a Chinese story. So for me, it is a mixture of Chinese and Western ideas into a production. It's about the love between family members, the father and the daughter. And secondly, it's about nationalism, how one serves a country. And thirdly, it's about the role of a lady in ancient Chinese society. But on the surface, you don't find it necessarily very conventional. You will find not only Chinese melody, but semi-classical things. When we talk about the romance between Mulan and one of the warriors, I use popular element. So it's almost like a pop song, except it is an orchestrated version of a pop style, semi-classical thing. I'm quite moved by the whole thing of nationalism and also the love between father and daughter. I really want to use the music to express this nationalism and love. And so the music is very romantic and emotional.
From resistant area at 12,000 level. So until there's some good news from the state, for example, for the nice economic growth, otherwise the Hong Kong stock market still will be in a range trading pattern in between 11,600 to 12,000 level.
Today's turnover remained thin at $5.6 billion, although the figure is already much higher than yesterday's $4.2 billion. Su Chenyu, TVB News.
In the 10 most active shares, Chern Kong, Hutchison, and Sung Hung Kai all surged.
Faced with official decisions they don't like, most Chinese people have had no choice but to play the system, with all the consequent risks of corruption and trading favors. But nowadays, a new way of handling things is starting right at the grassroots. The practice of law and the local law courts are new and still objects of fascination. Two farmers argue a land dispute with the state-appointed legal teams before a judge. They're being observed by the county legal head, Judge Jiang.
Before the Cultural Revolution, one can say China was ruled by people. We didn't have that many laws. China was not a country ruled by law. Since the open door policy, we have experienced a fundamental change. Before 1978, I never thought I'd see peasants protecting their rights in court. I now have great confidence that China is moving towards a system of rule by law. If a country isn't ruled by law, it'll become a sheet of loose sand. In other words, a chaotic country. There'll be unimaginable chaos.
Peasants now bring their problems to court in droves to see justice done at a grassroots level. These local courts handle over 5,000 cases a year. But judicial independence is still a concern, with local government funding the costs of court cases.
I hope that our entire legal system becomes centrally managed, from the highest to the lowest court. In that way, we can ensure the independence of the judicial system and eradicate what we call local protectionism. People certainly have worries. They feel that local courts and local government are one and the same. And if they go to court to sue local officials, it will only harm them. They feel the local courts cannot bring justice when dealing with local governments. When a country realizes rule by law, and has a complete legal system, democracy will also be realized. They are hand in hand. Without a legal system, there will be no democracy.
The party leaders tell senior officials that here in Sichuan, they will need to lay off over 1 million workers over the next couple of years.
Two things suffocate state enterprises. The first and the biggest enemy of the enterprises is too many people. If you have 30% more people than you need, all those promises about improving efficiency are just empty. The second problem is having fools, idiots and crooks working as managers. This definitely won't do. Comrades, a social security system is vitally important. It's an instrument to keep good balance and social stability. But we don't have it. Why has there been unrest recently? Because workers have to live. We have to solve their problems. Unrest has its reasons.
The governor has placed his job on the line. Today he travels to a large state organization that produces medical instruments. It is in real trouble. Workers are owed 4 months' salary and pensioners 3.
Are you still losing money?
Yes, we are. Our main problem is cash flow. We have been losing money each year, so our bank credit is bad. Even though the market is there, we don't have the cash to produce our orders worth 12 million.
You have huge numbers of workers here, but you only produce a small number of products. In other places, one worker produces 10 machines a year. Here you have 100 workers producing just 1 machine a year. Of course, sooner or later your business will collapse. State enterprises collapse because they're hugely wasteful. An enterprise run like this is totally out of touch with reality.
Governor Song alone will make the decision as to whether the factory will survive. The future of its 2,000 workers, their livelihoods, homes and way of life depends on him. But then it's always been like this in China throughout history. It is left to the senior official to make the hard decisions.
You have to reduce your staff and increase efficiency, that's it. If you can't do this and produce the best quality, you'll be out of business in no time. Do you hear me? Loud and clear?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
Now, I'm giving you an order. You must turn losses into profits this year. You can't go on losing money. Can you do this? If you can't achieve it, then it's bye-bye.
In Yellow Dragon, it's a new season, and it's now 9 months since the Chen's home was destroyed.
The burden is very heavy. Everyone thinks the peasants' burden is heavy. Families like us who work the land don't have regular income. We can't afford the children's school fees. We can't even afford meat or cooking oil.
The Chens have almost finished building their new home. But government compensation hasn't been enough to complete it. The windows are about to be repossessed, and they haven't enough to pay their builder. To make ends meet, Mrs. Chen has started a tea house to supplement the farm income. Like many others, Mrs. Chen feels that times are hard, despite all the progress of the last 20 years.
Of course peasants are worse off. We have to pay local taxes and road building fees. We can't afford it. Grain prices are low. Of course peasants are badly off.
The Chens have been to the town offices on countless occasions to try and get a resolution to their situation. They're short of 4,000 RMB, $500 US. Mrs. Chen has now decided to wage war on officialdom.
Chief Gao, we've come about our house.
Has it been demolished?
Yes, it's gone.
Local officials regularly deal with grassroots discontent. Mr. Gao is mindful of his title as a mother-father official, and Mrs. Chen is not reluctant to make it plain just how discontented she is.
Well, I'm still very unhappy. At our last meeting, you promised, saying that we could choose our own site, but we've had no choice.
Yellow Dragon has 110 homes to move. We've guaranteed that each family will move into their new homes this year.
If you'd built the road without destroying my home, I wouldn't have needed to build again.
Whatever difficulties you have, we'll try and help. All your problems. The bank loan, your son's schooling, the government will solve it.
Mrs. Chen is not about to take this lying down. She counters Mr. Gao's words with her own media offensive.
Well, I told them, if they don't solve my problem, I'll go to the television station and expose them all. I don't care if they lose face or not.
Mrs. Chen's blackmail worked. Soon afterwards, Mr. Gao told them he would help them by funding their child's education and by getting them a bank loan.
Village officials don't care about anything. As long as you've paid your local taxes and the grain tax, they won't bother you. But if you don't pay enough, they'll knock on your door demanding money every day. Nobody dares question authority. We don't know enough to challenge them. When the government issues an order, it's an order. Who dares oppose it? If we're not careful, we could all end up in jail. Not very nice, is it?
The payment of the annual grain tax is always a difficult time for farmers like the Chens. Still referred to as the imperial grain, its payment in hard times has resulted in many uprisings throughout China's history. This year, here in Yellow Dragon, there's also the added road tax to pay. This is the moment where so often resentments are felt. No one likes paying tax, but it's also the point where successive wise emperors and rulers have advised caution and good leadership. Emperor Han Huandi knew this well when, almost 2,000 years ago, he said, "An enlightened ruler will encourage his people in agriculture, lighten taxes and other levies, increase his store of supplies and fill his granaries in preparation for flood and drought. Through this, he can keep and care for his people, and the people may then be led by the ruler." China hopes that today's officials have learnt this message. With Chinese New Year approaching, the governor travels across the province to inspect new works and ensure the well-being of his subjects, as officials have done throughout history.
Chairman Mao gave the party 3 rules to deal with peasants. Of course, he didn't stick to them himself. First of all, peasants must be given what they're owed. We can't deprive them of their benefits. Second, we must fully respect their will. This means that the party has to help the peasants fulfill their aims. The party can't force them to do what they don't want. Thirdly, the peasants need to be educated. In the past, peasants didn't have enough to eat, but now there's enough food to go round. I think that Chairman Mao's theory is absolutely correct. Emperors in the past also knew this as well. If officials were too forceful, people would revolt.
China's a country with an ancient civilization, with thousands of years of history. Each dynasty experienced prosperity and collapse, success and failure. When a government loved its people and helped its people get rich, it was prosperous. On the other hand, if a government harmed and ruined its people, it wouldn't last.
Chinese history is often said to go in cycles. But where in the cycle are they now? China today is very different from the chaotic and impoverished country of 50 years ago. After 20 years of rapid growth, people's expectations are rising fast. They would like more, and they'd like it now. The great sage Mencius, one of Confucius' followers, wisely commented, "Win the people, and you win the empire. Win their hearts, and you win the people. Give them and share with them what they like, and do not do to them what they do not like. the people turn to a humane ruler as water flows downward. But rapid economic change is altering the very rules of the game. Can the structures that have governed China for so long stand the strain? Can they adapt quickly enough without slipping into chaos? At the beginning of the new millennium, will China use its history as a mirror towards a new future? Or will it be burdened by that history?